When a giant puppet head and Lucille Bluth try to break down the barriers between dimensions, only one man has the prescription and mustache to stop them. Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to another Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike, and I'm here, as always, with Rick.
Hey, everybody.
And today, we're talking about something we mentioned last season, the Doctor Strange TV movie from the 1970s. It came up in our Captain America episode. I believe at the time I said I was waiting for the DVD price to drop, and it did. Not too long after I said that. Suspicious.
Interesting.
So we're going to get into that and see how it compares maybe to Captain America and the Incredible Hulk from the same time periods. And it's a bit of an odd duck, I think.
Yeah. Marvel Comics was all over CBS in the 1970s, I guess. Yeah. And this was kind of around like the peak of everything going on. But so this was a TV movie that was intended as a pilot for a possible series, right?
Mm-hmm. And apparently it tanked.
Yeah, it did not work. There was no Doctor Strange series.
No, which maybe was too bad. I'm kind of fond of this.
Yeah.
I guess it aired against... I had read that it aired against Roots, but it actually aired against a repeat of Roots.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because that's one thing that kept coming up, and I think Stan Lee said it. He made it sound like, well, they decided to put it up against Roots,
yeah,
and then we were doomed. But yeah, it was not the original showing of Roots. It was a repeat of Roots, which is not. There's a considerable difference there.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it was being fed to the lines.
Right.
Not to mention, people didn't know Roots was going to be a big hit until it started, but
yeah.
So yeah, it didn't do well, but perhaps more impressive was its competition on ABC.
Ooh.
The season 3 premiere of 8 is Enough.
Well, no wonder.
And then Roots followed at 9 o'clock. So Doctor Strange was September 6th, 1978, 8 to 10 p.m. And 8 is Enough kicked off the night. That was the real juggernaut.
Yeah.
And then followed by an encore presentation of Roots from like a year before.
Yeah.
And just to round it out, I'll mention that on NBC, there was a special called Sharks, the Death Machines, which is a show about people, apparently a non-fiction show about shark hunters.
Wow. And
followed by Dick Clark and a Cast of Thousands.
Okay.
So,
the biggest episode of American Bandstand ever?
Yeah, apparently. And after Doctor Strange on CBS, do you know what was on this night at 10 o'clock after Doctor Strange?
Master of Kung Fu?
No, it was not. It was a repeat of the Hulk.
Oh.
So I think they just plugged it in as kind of an audience flow kind of thing. But
yeah.
So this night of Marvel didn't do too well on CBS.
Yeah.
Now, we can get into it, but I think I share maybe some of your thoughts on this because I enjoyed this more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was going to be kind of terrible.
Yeah.
One, it's got a pretty good cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up a little bit about the main cast. So Peter Hooton plays Stephen Strange, and he was in Orca and the original Inglourious Basterds. And some other things. It seems like he kind of either stopped acting or was doing theater or something, but he was recently done and produced some horror movies of some kind. They look kind of low budget, but and then as Lindmer, his sort of mentor, is John Mills, who one is Haley Mills' father, but I guess it was a beloved actor in England especially, and he died at 97 and had a credit that same year. I mean, he's got a zillion credits. The one that interested me, and I'm sure would interest you too, he was part of the Zoo Gang.
Yes.
What we want to see we haven't talked about yet.
That's true, yes.
A short-lived show It looks really cool.
It was like a British show, right? Like a
Yeah.
ITV or something with a great Paul McCartney
Right.
composed theme song.
Yeah. And Anne-Marie Martin plays the Clea, and she's probably best known for being on Sledgehammer. She also guest starred in Buck Rogers and BJ and the Bear and a million other things. And was married to Michael Crichton for a number of years.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I wanted to guess that was the same person. And as far as those two leads, her and Peter Hooton, they have very 70s TV looks to me.
Yeah.
Like, you see them together and you think, okay, I can see these people being in, like, tons of 70s TV, which they were, I guess.
Yeah. That makes sense. And as the main villain, Jessica Walter, who, of course, most people know from Arrested Development, she was, like, in everything in the 70s on TV, too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And going farther back, I didn't realize how far. I mean, her career went back to the early 60s.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you only know her from Arrested Development,
Yeah.
you're in for a surprise when you see her in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
She's rather saucy.
Yeah, she is. And Clyde Kusatsu as Wong, and I definitely recognized him. He was on Magnum a bunch of times in different roles, and MASH. And the one that jumped out at me, because I had forgotten or didn't know this existed, but he did a voice on the New Kids on the Block cartoon.
Wow. Was he voicing Joey McIntyre?
Yes.
Tell me he was the voice of Joey McIntyre, please.
I'll tell you that. I don't think he was.
Oh, okay.
Written and directed by Philip Daguerre, I'm going to say, who
Works for me.
created Simon and Simon and WizKids.
Yeah, man.
And then also the music, which I definitely want to say stuff about. But Paul Chihara, whose credits include Death Race 2000, WizKids, China Beach, and the Bad News Bears Go to Japan.
Wow. Diverse resume there.
Yeah. So a good crew of people, though. I didn't write down who plays the cranky nurse.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But she was good at playing a cranky nurse.
Yes. Yeah. Wait a minute. Which one? The
head
blonde
nurse.
one who kind of spars with him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the other nurse that he flirts with, but
Okay.
yeah, she wasn't cranky.
Yeah.
Yeah, the older nurses.
Yeah. The other nurse was more practical.
Yeah.
The practical nurse, but not necessarily cranky.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Doctor Strange on CBS here, 1978, and they do an interesting approach with this. Would you not say? I mean, I think we can get into it, but maybe afterwards or along the way we can talk about, like, would this have made a good series? Because I think that personally they structured the first episode poorly. As a I think they could have grabbed people off the bat a little bit. But I'm curious to see if this would have worked, what direction they would have gone as a weekly series.
Yeah.
So I think they lay it out pretty well. I think the problem is it takes a while to get to where they're going, and that may have hurt it. But then again, we don't know, like, audience data. It's possible that everybody just wanted to watch Sharks the Death Machines,
Right.
and didn't just tuned it out before it even started.
Yeah. So it's an origin story. It doesn't really have much to do with the comics origin, but that seems in keeping with pretty much all these Universal Marvel shows.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hulk is the closest, and even that's not really that close. But I mean, they definitely put some money into it, but it does take a while to see a lot of that money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only an hour and a half, so it doesn't take that long. But
True.
It's basically about the halfway point before anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah,
really is.
it's really just more like a medical show.
Yeah.
In many ways, except for the very beginning.
Yeah.
Then there's kind of a stretch where it just seems like, okay, it's like Marcus Welby or something.
Right.
For for a pretty long stretch of the movie. And I think they should have front loaded some more of the superhero stuff and maybe gone the flashback way.
Yeah.
Is how I might have done it.
Yeah, that could have been like he's already
right. And then if you need to go back and establish it, but yeah, or I don't know. It's just it takes a while for the movie to get going. I can see why it wouldn't be for everybody.
Yeah.
However, I think it holds up better than. I agree that it holds up better than its reputation. And like you said, the money. I mean, some of the effects might look kind of primitive today, but
yeah,
for late '70s TV, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely more effective than either of the Captain America movies, I think.
Overall,
yeah. To me, it was more engaging.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think especially especially the second half. I think it
Yeah.
took a while, but by the last like third of the movie, yeah, I would agree with that.
Now, even though, of course, had his own movie and was in the last Avengers movie, Doctor Strange is a little less well known, I would think, to the general public than Captain
Right.
America or the Hulk or certainly Spider-Man. But I don't know if that necessarily matters, or did then. Like, would someone watch a TV show only based on a superhero they'd heard of, or would the name Doctor Strange be enough?
I don't know. Like it seems like around this time, I would think that. I mean, we've talked about like In Search of, and
Yeah.
I think mysticism and magic and spirituality might have been a little bit trendy at the time, and maybe
Yeah.
that's what they were thinking. Like, okay, he's not an A-list superhero, but maybe we can tap into something, and maybe that's why they chose him. But yeah, he's not necessarily wouldn't necessarily be in my top 10 for people to build a weekly show around. I would think of him more as a supporting character.
Yeah.
However,
I-
maybe combining it with a medical show, which is what they apparently were going to do, maybe
Right.
that's what they thought. Hey, well, let's just do this.
Yeah, that could be. Like in the comics, he has always been to me kind of a B-level character, which is I was never super interested in him. He didn't always have a series. I mean, he was in the Defenders a lot, but his series seemed to come and go.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't quite get what his deal was. Maybe I wasn't into the supernatural stuff enough to be into it. I look back and I see images from the Steve Ditko ones, and I do want to kind of dive in and just see what's going on there. But and he was seemed older, although I guess he's not that much older. But
Yeah. I always found him a little inaccessible.
yeah,
Although kind of cool visually, I liked his costume, and I liked the fact that he had like the white streaks in the hair.
yeah,
I thought he looked pretty cool, but he was never one of my favorite comic book characters either.
no. I might have thought it was like a horror thing too, based on the logo and things.
Yeah.
Which it kind of is. I mean, a little bit, but it's more magical. So, yeah, name recognition might have had an issue with it, but the recent movie did okay.
Yeah.
And although I feel like I liked him a lot better in the Avengers movie, where he was a supporting character. He was a really important supporting character, but he wasn't, because he kind of, at least in some in the comics and definitely in the movie interpretation, is kind of a jerk. And so, how much time do you want to spend with that? This one seems a little less jerky. He's still arrogant.
Yeah, he's. I see a touch of arrogance, and he seems to be a self-styled ladies' man. But I found him rather bland, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't see a lot of spark in him, really. I liked. He seemed likable, but there wasn't much going on. I mean, and I think that's one of the things about the movie, I guess, is there's not as much a contrast because I don't think he's as arrogant in the beginning.
Right.
It's less of a change for him to become like to embrace his destiny at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, it just seemed like, he's not. I didn't really see much of a jerk to him. I just said a little bit cocky.
Right. I mean, his choice at the end is about that, about being more selfless.
Yeah.
Although, as they point out, it's kind of already in him.
Yeah.
And that's why he became a doctor, and why he's destined to do this thing. So the comics origin, and they used it in the Marvel movie, is that he's this very arrogant doctor who has an accident and it ruins his hands, and he goes on this.
He's a surgeon.
Yeah, he's a surgeon, and
so having the hands hurt is
and
catastrophic.
He goes on this journey to get his hands repaired, and through that learns the mystic arts, and I guess finds a little bit of selflessness.
Yeah.
Not all. He's still kind of arrogant, but definitely less so. He finds some humility.
Mm-hmm.
So they dispense with all that, and I can understand dispensing with the going to the Himalayas part, because that would just be a lot of money.
Yeah, they're not even willing to shoot in New York for this.
That's right.
Let alone the Himalayas.
Except for some sort of stock footage kind of shots.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely backlot L.A. kind of shot. So in this, he was destined to become the next Sorcerer Supreme, but he doesn't know it. Been hidden from him until now.
Yeah.
Well, it opens, first of all, with some ominous text that explains. There is a barrier that separates the known from the unknown. Beyond this threshold lies a battleground where forces of good and evil are in internal conflict. The fate of mankind hangs in the balance and awaits the outcome. There's more. In every age and time, some of us are called upon to join the battle. Ellipses. Nothing after. No more. But then we get some really cool kind of dissonant, creepy 2001 music, and some weird like images. I think of sort of like of demons and things, right? And then the first scene is in this other dimension, and I mean, it's totally cheesy, but I love the set they used for this, because it almost looks like if you were doing a Doctor Strange at the Broadway play.
Yeah,
This would be the set.
That's a good call, yeah.
It's like these. I mean, there's just a lot of empty black space, and then these like rocks and little ponds and staircases, and a lot of it's shot to in sort of a gauzy, I don't know, the Vaseline on the lens kind of thing or something.
Right. And it's rather dark.
Yeah.
Probably to, again, try to reduce the
cost,
exposing the limitations of your set design.
Yeah, but it works tonally too.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, and there we see Jessica Walter in her Renaissance Fair outfit.
Yes.
And she is talking to, I'm not 100% sure what it is. I mean, like, both in her world, it's some sort of demon master, Satan, or maybe it's supposed to be Dormammu from the comics or something.
Yeah, they don't really make it clear.
But it is some sort of giant head with red eyes.
Yeah.
I think it's a puppet. I know.
It kind of looks like it.
Or it could be like a stop motion thing or something. I mean, later they use. Well, she's never in shots with him, first of all, or it. But they do later have like sort of projections on some screens and things. So it could be some sort of projection of a stop motion thing. I don't know what's going on there, and there's sort of fire, but he's telling her that the current sorcerer, his time is winding down, and it's a chance for them to cross back over to Earth. And later he talks about he needs to feed on the souls of humans, and so he gives her 3 days to kill the sorcerer and I guess kill his successor too, or tempt him to their side.
Yeah, which is kind of seems like an arbitrary time frame.
Right.
I don't know where he gets the 3 days from.
I don't know either.
And he doesn't seem to be able to willing to yield on that.
Yeah, I guess just the rules of interdimensional magic.
Yeah, maybe there's something will change, like the cusp of the moon will be in Libra after 3 days, and that'll throw everything off, and he's got to start over.
Yeah, and so then we meet this Lindmer guy who we don't get his name for a long time, but who actually looks more like Doctor Strange than. I mean, he has the white, the gray temples and darker hair, but and he's like reading magic symbols and stuff, and basically he sees that she's on her way, and she's been in this other dimension. Morgan Le Fay, which is the Jessica Walter character, has been in the other dimension, locked in the other dimension for 500 years, which doesn't seem like enough.
You don't think so?
Well, I mean, 1478, that just doesn't seem like a mystical time to me.
No, maybe not.
It's not, I mean, it's not the Dark Ages.
No.
Like, I feel like that should be, like...
Yeah, more associated with, like, King Arthur, at least,
yes, which is, like, there's not really a time.
Yeah.
Or it's a
certainly
prehistorical sort of...
Yeah.
Or maybe not prehistorical,
well,
but early...
Certainly not 1478.
No, early AD, or the Dark Ages or something. And, 1478 is certainly Italian Renaissance is going on, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I guess she had a life before 1478, but
yeah,
something,
and of course
things took a turn.
We do know even later than that, all the stuff with various kind of things with witches or supposed witches and all that was still going on, but
yeah,
it doesn't.
I see what you're saying.
It could have been a little longer.
Well, it's a nice round number, at least.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, he knows this is coming, and Wong shows up, and they talk about it. Wong is a character from the comics. Sometimes he's depicted as Doctor Strange's servant. Mm-hmm. And they make a point of that he's not.
Yeah.
At some point, he's like, "You're not my servant. You're my friend."
Right.
Why are you serving me breakfast?
Hey, why even ask? Just accept it.
I know.
Take your bacon and eggs and enjoy it, man. Don't complain.
And I kind of liked. I mean, I do like, but it's weird. So his house, which is the sanctum sanctorum.
Yeah.
And they do give it the, like, from the comics, there's this big bay window that has this weird symbol and they give it that, but it is a very California 70s house.
Yeah.
Like it's got all these curves and stucco everywhere.
Yeah.
And instead of being on Bleecker Street, it's on Bleecker Court.
Yeah.
Well-known Bleecker Court in Greenwich Village.
You know what I would have liked to, this kind of reminds me, you know what I think might have been an interesting choice? Maybe set Doctor Strange, I mean, you're changing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be in New York?
Right.
I would have liked to see maybe like San Francisco.
Yeah.
It just seems like, doesn't that kind of sound like, okay, ooh, that could be vaguely mystical.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have like fog and stuff like there and tie it in, and you'd have unique architecture and
Right.
layout. Maybe they should have shot it there. And
That's where they drew the line.
yeah.
It's got to be New York.
Yeah.
Maybe Stan Lee insisted.
Yeah, nah.
Had enough of these things in California.
Yeah. I guess Carl Malden and Michael Douglas had San Francisco all taken care of.
Yeah.
But I'm just throwing it out there, and then maybe you could do some interesting things without having to. Well, I'll stop myself because they didn't worry too much about making authentically New York. But
Right.
But you're right. That's a good description of the overall look of the house, and that just kind of reminded me that, you know, I would have liked to see them like they put Captain America. They kind of moved him into like the Pacific Northwest and you know, all over the place. I would have liked to have seen them do something a little bit different with Doctor Strange too.
Yeah.
And San Francisco just stands out to me as one of the more mystical cities of the
Sure.
United States.
I can see that.
You can see like astrology and, you know,
Yeah.
magic arts being kind of a thing.
Right, and hippies still being around.
Yeah.
Right, he could live in Haight-Ashbury
Yeah.
instead of Greenwich Village.
There you go.
Lindbergh sends Wong out to find Stephen Strange. It's like a little weird that they know who he is.
Yeah.
They haven't been keeping tabs on him.
No.
Because Wong, he's at this hospital.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how Wong found him.
Yeah.
He just wandered around New York. Oh, there he is.
I mean, maybe he just looked at the phone book.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. And then he followed him to work.
Yeah. Like, yep, that's it.
Yeah. He's got the ring. So he's got a ring that looks like that, the same symbol that's in the window.
Yes.
And then we get into some of the beginning of the medical drama at least, which is him at work.
Yeah, and he's more of a like a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
But he also seems to have like.
I think he's an MD.
He seems to have quite a lot of medical knowledge.
Yeah.
Like he's enough to. Apparently, he's quite a generalist. Apparently, but it seems like his main practice, like the patients he's dealing with, have like.
I mean, he's on the psych ward.
Yeah.
And he's a resident.
Right.
But then the first person he talks to, I mean, is having problems with ulcers, which is not a psychological. And he has her stay over, like she's an alcoholic. And basically,
right. That's right. Yeah, isn't it because of? I got the impression
she can't sleep,
the idea was to treat the alcoholism, maybe.
Right. Yeah, but that's not what she's complaining about.
True.
Or I guess, or maybe it's just her psych follow up. But he does seem like he's a doc. I always get those. A psychiatrist is an MD, right? A psychologist is a PhD.
I do not know.
I believe that's
for sure.
One. I know one can prescribe medicine. One.
Yes, our mental health demographic. Those of you in the mental health field that listen, please.
Yeah.
Straighten us out on this. Smarten us up.
Right. So anyway, that's what he's doing, and he seems to run up against authority. There's the cranky nurse, and I think at first we just hear, well, you're late again. You know, the nurse knows. You know, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And then there's some authority figure who kind of breezes in, but he's there day to day.
Yeah.
Dealing with this.
And he cares about his patients, though.
He does. And did you notice? I've seen this twice, so maybe you didn't notice this, but for the most part, Peter Hooton doesn't blink.
I did not notice that. I can tell you right now. That's interesting. Although
he I mean, his eyes just have like a sort of. I mean, they're not. He doesn't have big eyes, but there's like a wide-eyed aspect to the way he looks at things, and he sort of cocks his head. I found him. Maybe the character is bland, but I found him
an interesting actor.
Yes, and he also he kind of like has a little bit of like a strut or something to him.
It's funny you say that because I took some screen caps. And there were several shots I took where he's got sort of a wide-eyed look in him. No, I didn't. I I did not notice that was kind of like more standard. I just thought, oh, in this scene he's so. So I noticed that he did that several times, that even more than others, but I didn't notice as a deliberate thing throughout the thing. That's interesting.
And once I kind of started watching for that, he did blink once, but he wasn't, or a few times, but it was like a sort of like in the middle. It was like a pause. Like he definitely wasn't delivering dialogue. He looked down and he blinked a few times, and then went back to staring.
So I didn't want to be blinking directly on camera.
I guess. I think maybe that was a moment where he was thinking. So he was showing thinking through his blinking. And then other actors, isn't Michael Caine famous for never blinking?
Wow, that's interesting.
That's the only thing Michael Caine is famous for.
Yeah.
Not being in 8,000 movies. Being the subject of many an impression, but
yeah, I wish I had one, because
yeah.
That was the problem with Jaws 4.
Yeah.
It wasn't the script or anything. It was the fact that he, against his best instincts, blinked several times in that movie, and it totally ruined the whole thing.
Right. No one bought the shark.
Yeah.
His biggest regret.
Yeah.
Not doing the movie, but blinking.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the main story, the non-medical story, which will then tie into it. So we first see, we see Morgan arriving in this dimension in a cab.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she creeps out some kid.
Yeah.
And then there's some cool synth music, like some prog rock. And this is where we meet the Clea character, who appears to be some sort of student. We learn later she is. And Morgan, through jump cuts, manipulates her mind.
Mm-hmm.
And we follow her, and then she's on a bridge. She meets Lindmer, and she throws him off the bridge, and he lands on the street below.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
That was rough.
And then she kind of wakes up and doesn't know what happened, and freaks out.
Appalled.
And Lindmer just kind of gets up.
Dusts himself off.
I believe he got hit by a car, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy's apologizing. He just popped right out in front of me. He doesn't say some broad pushed him off a bridge.
No.
He's he just ran out. He just came out of nowhere right in front of me.
Yeah. Well, and he's asked, Lindmer's "Where's the girl?" And people are, "There was a girl?" Where's
Yeah.
Nobody saw this. But he limps off, and then we see him stop somewhere, and his hand glows, and he heals himself.
Yeah.
So now we know for sure that he's magic, or has magic. And then he goes home, and he draws a picture of Clea to give to Wong to see if they can find her.
Yeah. And
then we get these a fairly lengthy sequence that is tied together by Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Yeah. It's another Universal property, conveniently.
Yeah.
Playing on a TV in the hospital, I guess.
And Clea's watching it at home. Yeah.
Well, it was probably the $1 Million Movie in New York.
Yeah.
Something. So everybody was watching it on WOR.
Right. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
I've never seen that.
Actually, I believe when I was in elementary school, they showed it for a movie day or one of those near the end of school.
Right.
And they just show movies all week.
Yeah.
I think one of them was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Maybe it was before a holiday or something like that, not the last week of school, but I remember that being shown on a projector. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I encourage that in any school.
I really enjoyed it being in here, just because sometimes you just hear Abbott talking, and just to hear his voice in this thing is a nice touch.
Yeah.
But during this time, we see Clea at her home, and she falls asleep, and we see Doctor Strange walking around. He's in the doctor's lounge. He briefly picks up a Hulk comic. I tried to find
Which one?
Yeah, I don't think it's a real one.
That's too bad.
Or it's some sort of reprint or something. Because based on the logo, and then I was looking at images of basically every issue up to that point.
Wow.
And the logo at that time was a different. It was at a slant.
Oh, okay.
Different lettering. It might have been the Hulk magazine, maybe.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
But I couldn't figure it out. It's too bad. But eventually he falls asleep too, and then Clea has a dream about throwing Lindmer off the bridge, and she's seeing images of Morgan, and Doctor Strange basically has the same dream.
Yeah, which is pretty weird.
Yeah. And Clea freaks out and runs out in the street, and she can't remember anything, really. And Cabby takes her to the ER, and that's how she comes into the intersection with Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
'Cause she's part of this now that she got used. Also, Morgan is at the hospital, I guess, following her, and sees Strange's ring. So now she knows who the successor is.
Right.
And then we get the Wong and breakfast sequence, and maybe this is where we meet the grumpy nurse, and she's giving drugs just to everyone, because that's procedure.
Yeah, Strange is not a big drug guy.
No, and Clea doesn't want them because she doesn't want to go back to sleep, because she knows that at least that is bad for her. So he sort of does that, but it puts him even more on this nurse's bad side. There was a point in there where Morgan is waiting at a hot dog stand. I like the incongruity of that.
Yeah, I wonder how impressed she is with this earthly dimension.
Yeah.
I mean, cab rides in New York City, hot dog stands.
She hasn't been there since 1478.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. It's there's probably better, prettier places to visit than New York 1978.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
She's probably, it's just like home.
Yeah. Right.
I would like to have her, if she'd actually gotten the hot dog. And,
yeah.
what is this strange food? This hot dog.
Yeah.
Because she walks away, and the hot dog vendor actually does it.
Yeah. Hey, aren't you?
Where'd
Yeah.
she go? She tries to break into the Sanctum Sanctorum, but she can't because Lindmer casts a spell on her. Or she uses a cat, I guess, really, to do that, right?
Yes, she compels.
Yes, she compels.
She does a lot of compelling.
Yes, the cat gets zapped. And there's like a hospital meeting, and Doctor Strange is late to it and gets in trouble, and the doctor wants to Bigfoot him on the Clea situation and give her drugs. But then Lindmer arrives at the hospital and starts doing Jedi mind tricks on everyone.
Yeah.
Or compelling them, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to let me in.
Yeah, because he's not supposed to have free reign of the hospital, but
right, yeah.
It's easy to get that when you can just compel people to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So why not? He needs to save time.
Right. And he's looking for Clea. He has a drawing, and he meets Doctor Strange for the first time. And they shake hands, and their hands glow. Nothing really ever came from that.
Yeah, there's a little connection there between the two of them.
Yeah, I don't know if that's him sending a message to encourage Strange to go meet with him later. Not sure what the deal is there. But it was enough for a wah-wah guitar to play. So
yeah, so it's clearly significant.
Yeah. And then since the doctor drugged Clea and the drugs, she doesn't respond well, and she goes into a coma. That inspires Strange to go to Lindmer's. That and looking at his business card and seeing it has the same symbol as his ring. Things are starting to move around there, or move along. One thing I noticed in their neighborhood, their version of Greenwich Village, was a sign on a store that a wise kitty wear, Chubbies, Huskies, Slims. I didn't realize chubby was a size.
Well, apparently in the village it is.
I guess so.
That's some of that authentic New York detail
really
that they snuck in there.
Well, mother takes her kid in, we need some husky jeans. I think you need some chubby. How about some chubbies?
Nuh-uh.
Maybe that was a size back then. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems a little strange to me too, but
yeah,
maybe it's just quirky.
Yeah.
Delightfully quirky.
Right. And there's a thing there, the scene where Morgan is doing something with a kid and a bus, and that one didn't kind of play out. I didn't know what she was trying. It seemed like she was trying to get the kid to run out in front of the bus, and Strange to get hit by the bus.
Yeah.
And then she changed her mind, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not clear.
It was a little convoluted
during the scene.
Right.
But later, the giant head chastises her for having multiple chances to stop him and not doing it. But then we get Strange meeting Wong, which is cool, and then we find out more about his history and everything, and he learns what's going on from Lindmer. His dad knew Lindmer, and they knew his potential to be the next Sorcerer Supreme, and His parents died in a car crash, which I guess maybe is a nod to the comics origin, because Doctor Strange's hands get messed up in a car crash and that. But then, he says they can help Clea, which is why he goes there. He's like, maybe this guy can help.
Right.
And then this is where things get interesting, because he sends Doctor Strange on a journey to the astral planes.
Ah, yes, the astral planes.
Yes. Which dreaming apparently is one of those.
Yeah.
But that's a lower plane. He's sending him on a higher plane.
Yes, the astral planes are particularly lovely this time of year.
Yeah. and then we go on this journey with him, and then we get some crazy, psychedelic sort of.
Yeah, like
swirly light
dark
tunnel
screens and moving around and things getting rotated and flashy colors.
Yep. Wild music.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. It was something, you probably weren't seeing on 8 is Enough. I'll say that.
Well, that one episode. Where Tom, for an article, had the whole family take acid.
Yeah. It's just an experiment. Come on. But it seems like this gave this a little bit of its own identity, at least.
Yeah.
It made it distinctive, which is good.
Yeah. I did read an article, like a Hollywood Reporter did an article a couple years ago about it, and like Jessica Walter, who seemed very proud of it, her suspicion was that people weren't ready for seeing that kind of stuff on TV at the time.
Maybe.
Yeah. They would have had to have seen it to not be ready to see it, but
right.
To make the decision.
True.
But maybe in commercials and stuff, there were enough.
Could be.
Signs like, oh, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about magic and spirituality and things being on TV or being trendy, it doesn't necessarily include like these kind of trippy visuals. So,
right.
I mean, she may be onto something there.
Yeah.
It definitely seems a little both ahead of its time and of its time.
Yeah, and Morgan sends some demon to stop him. His name is Belzeroth.
Yeah.
Voiced by Ted Cassidy.
Yeah. The great Ted Cassidy.
Yeah. But luckily they gave, Lindmer gave Strange some magic words to say. That pretty much stops him.
Yeah. Kind of like an oath or incantation.
Yeah. And then he finds Clea, and they hold hands, and they sort of fly through the astral planes. I guess just for imagery, she's like in some sort of nightgown. And is waving and
billowing nightgown. Yes.
Right. It's a little bit like the Superman flying below us around New York scene.
You got me. Who's got you?
Yeah. Right. And then he sort of that was nice. It's like she's back in her hospital bed and waking up, and he's like his astral form is watching her, and then he wakes up at Lindner's, and everything seems okay, right? End of show.
Yeah. Everything's taken care of. Right.
He goes to check on her in the hospital, and she's good, and she's leaving, and they flirt, and they set a date. They're gonna have a date, and before that, we also saw the big head got all mad at Morgan, and it's like, okay, you gotta go kill the sorcerer, and like if you wanna, you can have Strange if you want.
Yeah. Because he's like onto the fact that she's attracted to him.
Yeah, she's hot to trot for Strange, because she's been locked up for 500 years.
Yeah.
She needs to feel some love. The big threat is that he's going to take away her youth.
Yes.
And so she's got this old lady makeup on that, understandably she doesn't want to be that way.
Right. Well, she's quite possibly seen what happened when Christopher Lee tried to do it to Captain America.
Right.
And she wants no part of that.
That's right, yeah. So...
I also liked, by the way, I liked, in here, Balzaroth, after being defeated, like his excuse, like to Morgan really, is just like, he's just kind of whiny about it. He's like, well, he spoke the name of power.
Yeah.
Because by the name of Rahl or whatever.
Yeah.
He spoke the name of power. It's like, what am I supposed to do?
Right. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like you only got 3 days.
This demon was really humiliated by by Strange. I just wanted to point that out, but I was amused by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Morgan is definitely stalling the clock.
Yeah.
Pretty much has to do it herself.
Right. So when Strange makes his date with Clea, he says, "I'll come back at 7." Then, like the next shot, he's going to Lindmer's, which is she lives in Greenwich Village too, and it's already dark. Mm-hmm. Then there's rain, so maybe it's just cloud dark. I don't know. It looked like night to me, but things happen. Mm-hmm. We don't know what time of year it is. It could be fall. It could be winter. It could have gotten dark at 5.
Could be.
Yeah. And so he goes to Lindmer's to tell him, "I don't want to do this."
Right.
And Lindmer's fine. It's your choice, whatever. And on the way out, he tries to take off the ring, and he can't take off the ring. And then he lets a cat in the house. Bad idea.
Sloppy.
Yeah, because it's not a cat. It's Morgan. Pretending to be a cat.
Yeah.
She didn't even manipulate a cat. She became a cat.
Yeah, she did a very good job pretending to be a cat, I will say.
Yeah.
She looked just like a cat.
She did look just like a cat, yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yes. I would have been fooled too.
Yeah. But I wouldn't have let it in the house.
No.
Just, like, oh, hey.
He assumes it's Lindmer's cat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at the door. I don't...
Yeah. I guess that's...
It's enough.
But he could, hey, let your cat in, by the way.
Yeah.
Would have been nice as a courtesy.
Right.
On the way out, you could just give a heads up.
He's done. He doesn't want anything to do with these guys.
True.
Yeah. And then we get kind of a cool, in a throwbacky way, like a magic fight between Morgan and Wong.
Yeah, I like force blasts. They're always great. And they're pretty much using force blasts, would you not say?
I think that's a good, yeah. And they're good. They're color-coded.
Yeah.
Hers are red. His are sort of yellow-orange, kind of.
Yeah.
I guess that's the color of good, of the light. And then Wong he doesn't quite catch on fire, but there's like fire around him.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah, which the Hollywood Reporter article mentioned that, that was there was real fire and stuff. That was a stunt. Mm. And Jessica Walker telling the other guys, you don't have to do this. And the director being like, kind of, it's not a big deal. And the stunt guy thinking he was kind of being a wuss for not doing it, but it's fire.
Yeah,
I understand, but that was good. And so Wong sort of collapses, and that didn't go. And then she goes and fights Lindmer too.
Yeah, another one-on-one magic battle.
Yeah, and somewhere in there he does something that sort of wraps himself in a light cocoon, but she still kind of knocks him out, and then she's gonna take him back to the other dimension. And there's another demon, right? Wasn't there another demon in there that comes out of the fireplace or something?
I don't remember.
Or
what
maybe
Clea.
I don't know.
I don't think so, but
yeah. I wrote the word demon, so maybe something happened. And then we cut to Clea getting ready for her date, and Doctor Strange arrives in an airplane.
Of course.
Yeah. He arrives, and while she's finishing getting ready, she looks in the mirror and she sees Morgan, and she freaks out again. And then Morgan is there and tells Strange, like, I won't harm her if you come with me. So he's like, sure.
Yeah.
And then they go to the other dimension, and she starts wooing him.
Yes, she does.
And do you think he was just confused, or like by all the travel, like she had muddled his mind a little bit, or is he just into her, or?
I got the idea that there was supposed to be some real chemistry and that he was sort of intrigued.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that he's likes playing the field apparently with the women.
Uh-huh.
And I think he was intrigued.
Okay. A little temptation.
Yeah. It seems like she could have just maybe used some kind of mind
right.
foo on him.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's doing that right at this point.
No, I thought maybe just I thought, well, does he know what she looks like, or, like who this is? But, I mean, she threatened Clea, so...
Yeah.
She's not good.
Right. He knows that there's something nefarious with her.
Right. Anyway, they make out a little bit. Even, I mean, he resists a little bit. He's like, tells her lips are cold.
Yeah. That was a little...
She's offended.
Yeah, that was not a very suave remark, really.
Yeah, but she is evil. But then they make out a little more, and he confirms that they're no longer cool.
Yeah. Glad they established that.
Yeah.
And she makes him say that she makes him confirm, right? You know, she
Right.
says, "Are my lips still cold?"
Yeah. And but she's trying to get him to take off his ring, which is obviously how he will lose if he does that. Yeah. Oh, and she gave him like fancy like Doctor Strange clothes.
Yeah, which was really one of the best things she did for him.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that he didn't ultimately just say, "Oh yeah, this is pretty cool,"
Right.
because his outfit is, it's not exactly the costume in the comics, but
No.
it's pretty cool looking.
It is. It actually looks oddly like more recent versions of the costume have looked. I mean, it's a little more. I don't know. There's more detailed or something, or there's stuff, and she gives him this giant necklace, which I guess is sort of like the Eye of Agamotto thing. But
It's respectable. I thought he looked pretty sharp.
he did, yeah. And Peter Hooton can wear a cape. It works. Not everybody can.
No, that's true.
She shows him. She's got Lindmer like tied up in vines, and he looks all terrible and everything. Or roots or vines. I couldn't figure out. But then that's sort of the thing that turns Strange finally or clears things up for him. Jars him.
Kind of wakes him up a little bit.
Yeah, and they have another Force Blast fight.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange wins, and he takes Lindmer home. Or before he takes him home, this is the final thing. He calls him Master.
Yeah, which is
Arrogant Doctor Strange wouldn't call anyone Master.
No.
Now he does.
Clearly, he's changed.
Yes.
Something has awoken inside him.
Yeah.
His destiny.
Yes. Meanwhile, the giant head turns Morgan old, but he said he might take pity. He'll see how he feels in a few days.
Yeah, he leaves it out.
Yeah. Back at home, Wong is okay, and it turns out Lindmer, he admits he sort of manipulated things. He let himself get caught.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually get my butt kicked by Morgan. I let myself be defeated.
Right.
To lure you so you'd save me.
Yeah. But he also knew that I think he said he knew Strange would save him, or he gambled that Strange would save him, but he knew she was into him, and he knew Strange would. I think he says something like that he would be attracted to her or something.
Yeah. And then Strange says, "You think I like her?" Yes. And then liked her.
Wong starts singing. Morgan and Strange.
Yeah.
Sitting in a tree. And then it ends. No. Yeah. So, but Strange is like, I'm going to do this thing now. I'm going to become the next sorcerer. Lindmer's like, well, it's your choice. Now, you'll have to renounce the pleasure of ignorance.
Okay. Easy.
Can't have offspring.
Doable.
And you won't have an easy death.
Well, death is death. We can live with that.
Yeah. And Strange. Like, well, what about love?
Yeah, now wait a minute now.
Yeah.
It's starting to get tricky.
Lindmer, I don't know. His answer is that the universe is love.
Yeah, he doesn't really directly answer, does he?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of answer when you don't think the guy's going to like your answer, so you just kind of phrase it differently.
Yeah. But that seems like enough for Strange.
Yeah.
He's a Beatles fan. He gets it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sure. Or maybe he's like, oh, I get to have sex with the universe. Wow.
We knew he was a womanizer.
Yeah.
Man, takes it to a whole new astral level with that.
So the sunrise shines through the special window. There's like a glowing orange light, and there's a disembodied voice, which I guess is the ancient one.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And then there's like this ritual, this transmutation ritual. The floor like symbols glow, and like this white pedestal comes out of the floor, and light zaps in between Doctor Strange and Lindmer, and they both collapse. And then, but during this time, Doctor Strange gets a new costume that is less like the comic book costume.
Significantly less like the comic book.
Although I when I did look at some old images, the colors are definitely wrong, mostly wrong, except for the pants.
Mm-hmm.
But the general, like a tunic and some pants, that's okay.
Yeah, but
so in the comics, his traditional costume is mostly the tunic and pants are like a light blue.
Mm-hmm.
His cape is red,
mm-hmm.
He also has some gloves, but she doesn't have gloves at all. And here, the cape is yellow, the tunic is purple, and then the pants are light blue.
Yeah, and there's like a yellow star kind of thing.
Yeah, not the symbol we've been seeing the whole time that represents this, but a different symbol.
Yes. Yeah, the purple really loses me.
Yeah.
It didn't seem appropriate.
It just seemed, and then far less detail than the one he was wearing in the other.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. It's not as dignified, really.
No.
I think Morgan did it much better. I mean, you can debate over good versus evil, but
Right.
as far as like costume design, Morgan's the clear winner.
She knows clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little weird, and then it turns out Linmer is still alive, and Strange isn't the sorcerer yet, as Wong explains that the Ancient One will have to train him and whatever. And then we get another doctor meeting, and he's late to that, but now it's kind of amusing because he's apparently doing his job much better,
Yeah.
or using magic to do it better, because they're in like no patience.
Right.
And the boss at the psych ward, that's his main concern. He doesn't want anyone using their beds.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's good.
He wants to keep everybody. Yeah.
It's a public hospital. I guess that's part of it, but you
No.
know.
Yeah. Overcrowding would be a concern.
Right.
But there's a happy medium there. You don't need to necessarily keep zero patients.
Right.
That
It
seems a little
seems
extreme.
encouraging, which, based on that nurse's behavior, is maybe what it was. Encouraging, just sort of like getting people back out as soon as
Yeah.
you can. Where Strange's attitude was, well, they need help.
Yeah. Give them some drugs and put them back out in the street.
Yeah. So, but things seem much better at work anyway. They don't even care that he's late.
Yeah.
It's just a big joke. And then we see him with Clea, they meet out in the waiting room, and she's forgotten everything, or some of it, or...
Yeah. Although I guess she realizes they were supposed to have a date.
Yeah.
I guess she doesn't know the details of why they didn't have that first date.
Right. It was a little hard to tell. Did she forget everything, or just forget a bunch of the mumbo-jumbo part? But he's been treating her again for that, but now they're not, and then they're going to they redo the same basic scene.
Yeah. Maybe he's done some kind of hypnosis on her to repress the trauma.
Right.
Or to remove the trauma that she's feeling, so that she'll have pleasant dreams.
Right. But things seem good. But she stops to look at a TV because there's a report on the TV. Our indication that this is supposed to be a series.
Yes.
Morgan Le Fay has returned and is running the Le Fay method, which seems to be some sort of self-help, self-actualization cult kind of
We've
thing.
talked about Est and other things
Yes.
about this time, so that's a little bit of timely relevance there.
Right. And I can see that working on a series especially because it probably wouldn't involve as much money.
That's a cynical statement.
Well, that's how these things go. But she could still be using her magic to do that, but it just wouldn't need as much visuals.
True.
And things. And the very last little tag at the end, he's walking through Washington Square Park, and there's a magician who's going to pull a flower out of a handkerchief, and Dr. Strange flicks his fingers, and it turns into a dove. And he smirks.
Yeah.
And then that's the end.
Yeah, that's the end of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
For now. Well, actually, it was the end.
Yeah, it was the end.
He was not called to battle anymore after this, apparently.
No.
Yeah, and it's a shame because there's some things that work here. So, so what would you think about the prospect of this as a series? If you take the medical bureaucracy that you see in the first half with the force blast that you see in the second half, would this have worked as a regular series?
I think it.
I would have watched it.
Yeah, I think it has had potential. Because you could have a magic case of the week.
Mm-hmm.
You could tie it into the medical if you needed to. I would like to see less of that, but I understand. These shows always, they used to show people at their jobs.
Right.
Like the CW shows kind of figured out that let's not bother with people having jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too distracting.
Right.
Or make the job somehow obviously related to the heroics. But yeah, and I feel like they could have saved money and still had effects just by like reusing some of the stuff.
Yeah, like some of the astral plane footage.
Yes, and that
they could do that.
Save that set.
Yep.
You could have that, and
the evil head
yes.
footage, you could reuse that,
right? Because
and have different voiceovers.
Yeah.
And like you kind of say, like that gimmick with like Morgan Le Fay being a self-help guru or whatever, that would give her, in theory, could give her a pretty broad reach, so that she could manipulate other people, and she'd have other people come in and out as followers of her that could be like individual level opposition for him too. Like she'd give them powers or influence them to do stuff.
Minions, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe they could bring in some of the villains from the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I think like Nightmare is the one I remember the most. Is his name kind of says he's the ruler of the bad dream world or whatever.
Yeah.
Rides a horse, and that doesn't seem that difficult to do.
Right.
Bad dreams you could certainly do.
Yeah, and I suppose some people would say that the effects are campy or something like that, but I don't know. It totally looks like they took everything seriously.
Yeah.
And yeah, they changed some things, but the purple suit and some things here and there, but overall it seemed like they were putting in a pretty good effort on this.
Yeah.
And I think I agree. I think it had some potential actually, and I would have liked to have seen what Peter Hooton would have done, kind of grow into the role a little bit. And I'm not so sure about him, and can't remember the actress's name. If they, I guess they would have been like a couple.
Yeah, I mean that's.
It seems odd to would have seemed odd to settle him down so quickly, but it seems like you would assume that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
That she would have been there every week.
And I think in the comics, that character was sort of his assistant.
Mm.
But then they were a couple at some point.
Okay.
But she had magic stuff, and maybe they were going to do stuff with that like just having been through this experience means is part of her now. She's connected to them that in a way.
Now, I really liked Jessica Walter. I think she was great.
Yeah.
She was credible, and she, like, dialogue that could have been like super cheesy. She was convincing.
Yeah.
She was convincing as a seductress. Mm-hmm. I mean, she looked the part, and I think she would make a good, like, recurring villain.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to have seen them do like more of a triangle thing and have Strange be a little like kind of tempted to flirt with the dark side every now and then because of her. And maybe you don't know if it's her using her mind power or if something going on with him.
Yeah.
But they could definitely have played that up quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, like a Catwoman kind of.
Yeah. I think those two had a little bit more chemistry in their few scenes than the other two, really.
Yeah.
Although, really, I guess it's John Mills and Peter Hooton had the chemistry because they're the ones whose hands glowed when they shook hands. So maybe that would have been another direction they could have gone.
Yeah.
And you know what else? And they did seriously. They did the character of Wong right. Like,
yeah.
Surprisingly for its time, they addressed some things and made it a relatively progressive portrayal of that character.
Yeah.
Not just a stereotype and not subservient.
Right.
And a pretty good presence. So I like that character too.
And he had powers.
Yeah.
I don't know. In the movie he has powers, but I don't think in the comics he ever did.
Yeah, I don't know. So I would have liked to have seen them give it a shot anyway.
Yeah.
It's a shame that this, for whatever reason, did not catch on at all, I guess.
Yeah. In terms of the Marvel shows / movies that we've talked about, certainly the Hulk is number one.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
And I would put this second.
Yes, I would put this second, although I enjoy elements of, like I really like Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Overall, yeah, I guess I'd put this second.
Yeah.
And then Captain America?
Yeah, right. And I guess we could, obviously the second one a little more than the first one.
Yeah.
But, would have liked to see Christopher Lee in this. And Doctor Strange, if they're the show.
Yeah, well.
Be a villain.
I would have liked to have seen Hal Linden as Doctor Strange, too, but
right,
neither here nor there.
But more Tony Stark, right? That's where we landed?
I think we did eventually.
How about, because you mentioned In Search of Leonard Nimoy as Doctor Strange.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
With that In Search of Mustache. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I definitely like that.
And we already know he can do weird hand gestures.
Yes.
Which Peter Hooton did not do any Doctor Strange hand gestures.
No, he really did not, did he?
Even though Shout Factory's DVD has him doing a weird Doctor Strange hand gesture on the cover.
Yeah, a little misleading.
Yeah.
A little misleading. Yeah, I think there's room for this to go. So does that pretty much cover it, except for the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man series?
Right. Yeah.
Dare we cover that at some point, folks?
I think we
pretty much have to.
If we can find it, we do. Yeah.
Pretty much have to, don't we?
Yeah.
And I think that would be it for Marvel in the 70s.
Yeah, other than cartoons, yeah.
Yeah.
Which would be there were some in the 70s, but
yeah. It just this. Boy, would you say this is even more obscure than the Captain America movies?
Yeah.
I think so.
Right.
I think so. It's really kind of a forgotten part of the Marvel past.
I don't know if the Hollywood Reporter bothered doing an article on those when the Captain America movie came out.
Also, it was tied in with the Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I think it was tied in with maybe the DVD coming out.
Okay.
And maybe it was because Shout Factory put this out around the time of the movie. A savvy bit of...
Yes. It would have been nice to get some extra features on the DVD, would it not?
Yes, as always.
Unfortunately, nothing, so...
No.
You have to utilize your own crack research team, or ours, to get some more information on the movie. But
right.
Again, and I guess we kind of found the same thing with Captain America. There's not as much... Maybe it's not a surprise because they weren't all that successful, but I'm a little bit surprised that there's not more publicity for these things.
Yeah.
And they're on DVD,
right?
But it's not like Marvel has embraced these as part of their heritage.
No, not really. No.
I mean, they don't pop up on. We'll see. Maybe when the Disney streaming service comes out, these are the kind of things that I'd like to see on there.
Yeah, I don't know what the ownership issues are with that. Maybe
sure.
because they're Universal and.
Good point.
But that would be cool. I mean, they're still kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I do like even if you're not into superheroes, I think if you're into more like the supernatural kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think this would be a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, I think the tone is consistent. The acting is good.
Yeah.
John Mills and Jessica Walter are particularly good. Peter Hooton is like you say, he's interesting. I think they. I think the flaws of the movie are. I think it took a little too long to get to the magic stuff and a little too much hospital stuff early, and I don't think they quite had enough of a chance to develop the Doctor Strange character, and it didn't really have an impact. I mean, it just a lot of the things in this seemed a little. I guess I'll use the word again, arbitrary. Like, that 3-day deadline, and they have the ring and everything, but Strange's actions seem a little bit less dramatic to me.
Yeah.
Because of the way they do the character, but it had potential, and it's. I like the seriousness of it and the fact that they, in my opinion, did not go camp with this.
No, I don't think so. I think anything that would be seen as campy is unintentional.
Matter of fact, I think this is, of all the Marvel 70s stuff that we've talked about, this is probably the most sober and serious of all of them by far. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, Captain America wasn't necessarily being campy, but I don't know. I think some of the stuff in that, it was just it wasn't. It was handled a little differently than this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think the Hulk is all that campy, but
no,
it can be.
Right.
And it maybe just by virtue of lasting for a while,
right,
ends up having a lot of sort of typical 70s storylines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we're talking about like a series with the Hulk, so it's a little different beast. But I just remember like kind of hearing like sort of like Kenneth Johnson, who developed the show. Just some of his comments, he seemed to be very conscious of trying not to do a superhero show.
Right.
And whereas this, it doesn't really shy away from that. Now, granted, it takes a while to put him in costume, and then it gives him a ridiculous one at the end. But I don't know. It seems like they wouldn't have really shied away from that if they had gone to series. But
yeah,
I guess we'll never know.
No, it did. It does seem like the writer director was engaged by the material, and like where Kenneth Johnson was sort of.
Yeah, he's like, what am I going to do?
What
with this
can
material?
I mine from this?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's not silly. So.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. Also, cool soundtrack.
Oh yeah. I love the soundtrack. Again, talking about of its time, it just kind of reminded me of like a little bit of like, the Tubular Bells Exorcist thing thrown in with like the Midnight Express movie theme.
Right. It's like really, in a good way, all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like the creepy stuff, and then there's like wailing guitars and sort of prog rocky stuff, and I think there was some saxophone somewhere.
Yeah, it was distinctive. Again, another thing that kind of separates this from these other efforts. Of
and apparently the composer is talked to in that Hollywood Reporter article, and he said the director, wanted him to, try different unique things. So, and that the director's passed away, but everyone is talking about how passionate he was for it, and how disappointed he was that it didn't.
That's too bad. Now, it would be interesting, like, say he did this, like, as a feature film.
Yeah.
Instead of a TV pilot, because if it was a feature film, they very well might approach the material a little differently.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about how, well, it was a little slow at the beginning, but part of that might have been the fact that they were setting everything up in the first episode.
Right.
And they got, it seems like a pretty substantial budget for, like, a TV movie, but, maybe this kind of thing would have been better as, like, a theatrical movie. I mean, they weren't really doing that back then except for Superman, but...
Right.
I don't know, maybe with a few extra bucks and a little bit more, some tweaking to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been something.
Yeah.
But as it is, it was pleasantly surprising, I would say, and I think it's worth a shot to anybody interested in TV movies of the era, and especially Marvel superheroes fan, Marvel Comics fan. If you haven't seen this one, I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah.
This episode brought to you by Bleecker Street Capes and Haberdashery. This episode also brought to you by Eastside Hospital and our new Supernatural Ward. This episode also brought to you by the LaFay Method, self-improvement at any cost. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/battleofthenetworkshows.